I believe the Prime Minister needs to recognize that no agreement has been reached about the end game here. That no agreement has been reached about the end game here. Place in order to bring about a negotiation. Because the first order of business of any superpower is to exercise its power thoughtfully and respectfully. And if we thoughtfully and respectfully, and if we must show the world we have exhausted every possible remedy and opportunity.
All right, John Kerry, who I will never believe is actually Secretary of State. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, the talks taking place over this weekend. They broke up, and depending on who you're listening to and what day it is and who you believe, there's a deal on the horizon in another week, in another month. They couldn't come to an agreement. France blocked an agreement. Then you hear France agreed with the agreement. It was Iran who wasn't ready to make an agreement. Whatever. But Bibi Netanyahu, I think, has it right, and that's who the Secretary of State was answering, because Netanyahu has said this is a horrible deal, but a great deal for Iran. And he said, we don't have a deal yet. Joining us now is Banafsheh Zand, Iranian-born writer, film producer, human rights activist, who joins us once again. Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good to talk to you again. It's been too long. Okay, so I know you've been following this very, very closely. Your impressions of what took place over the weekend and where we are today.
Well, first I'd like to say that it always just shocks me that the Obama administration, especially Mr. Kerry, given his pals Joe Biden and Chuck Hagel seem to really know how to track information, in that this is the nth year that the world has tried to negotiate with Iran, better than Obama have tried. It started out with Carter, not so much better, but Reagan tried. Bush 41 tried. And then the thing is that Clinton tried for many years, and let's not forget that it was Warren Christopher who called Iran the evil empire. They have continued to evade. They have continued to act like the shady characters, to act like the shady characters. Let's not forget that in the early 2000s, while Bush was perfectly failed, it's a never-ending dance, and the Iranian regime just buys time. And anybody who thinks that they can possibly get this regime to capitulate and to accept any deal, or to, play nice and behave, is really somebody who, again, has not done their research and doesn't understand the nature and mandate of the Iranian regime.
Yeah.
They will never negotiate. It is the way they are. It is their way or the highway. And Mr. Kerry is, trying to bamboozle the illiterates of this world in acting like he is being, quote, democratic-minded or patient with a rogue regime that we all know isn't going to heal.
Yeah, and at the same time that these talks are going on, the IAEA is now saying that they've encountered restrictions at some of the sites that they needed to inspect. It's just a never-ending cycle with Iran. Interesting that Kerry now says that France was on board and that it was Iran who wasn't ready. What do you think? I mean,
That's actually not true. I've been, I'm a French speaker, so I follow the French news every day as well.
Well, doesn't Kerry speak fluent French? I thought that's what he was speaking.
Well, it's the story of Al Jazeera. They say one thing in English and say something else in Arabic. In this case, it's the case of anybody who doesn't speak French or follow the French news and doesn't listen from the horse's mouth to listen to what Laurent Fabius has been actually saying. It was the French who scuttled the deal, and the one thing I can say, which I think is really quite shocking and interesting, is the fact that the François Hollande administration is very, very against the Iranian regime. I never actually expected this when Sarkozy went out of office, but Hollande has actually been interestingly firm. Fabius has been very strong and understands the nature of this regime, and the fact that Kerry was trumped in the face of the Iranian regime by the French is really quite interesting. I think it's a great turn, actually.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we got about a minute and a half. The rebuke to Benjamin Netanyahu as he stood, I believe, at the United Arab Emirates, significant.
Very. I mean, the thing is that this isn't just Israel's problem. As I've always said, told many of the GCC people that you guys have got to really realize that you can cower up to a certain point, and then you have to react. So it's very possible that now that is sinking in, but they still aren't doing it effectively in covering their various bases by working with the various opposition members, et cetera, et cetera. The single unilateral avenue of the nuclear thing can't be the only way that Iran is dealt with.
Absolutely not. No, they have too much. There's too much blood on their hands, and they're the major funder of terrorism in that part of the region and throughout the world. I thank you, Banafsheh Zand.
My pleasure.
Thank you as always.
Thank you.
All right, we'll speak to her again. Iranian-born writer, film producer, and human rights activist. We're going to continue our conversation on Iran from our friend Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst and author of Hell or Richmond, a brutally realist Civil War novel. Our friend Ralph Peters comes next, and that's all straight ahead on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.